Premier League football is finally back and Arsenal will play tomorrow against Bournemouth to set off where they left off against Southampton and continue their pursuit of the Premier League title. In this video, we're going to go through their next few games and what the current injury problems mean for Arsenal going into this tough game of fixtures and why it could potentially make or break their season. So let's get into it. Now, there's going to be a lot of hard periods throughout the season, especially later on in competitions such as the FA Cup and the Champions League when we get further. Now, that being said, across this winter period, Arsenal play the most games they will across the entire season. And in the next month until the next international break in mid-November, Arsenal have a very hard fixture schedule in which it is imperative Arsenal keep up their great form and can stay in the title race till the end of November where we can push again. Because the longer Arsenal stay in the title race with how they are playing, they will continue to get better and better and could produce magic. Now, the first order of business is obviously to talk about the injury problems. Now, at the time of recording, it hasn't been Friday, so I can't tell you who's in training or not. But yesterday, Thursday, there was not many people in there and a lot of big players missed out. That includes Ben White and Timber, who missed out from last time. Tomiyasu, who we all expected has picked up that another month injury. Zinchenko and Odegaard, who we always expect to be out still. But Martinelli, Saka and Havertz all were not pictured in training at all, as they are still recovering from certain knocks that they came on international break or after last game in the case of Havertz. Now, obviously this is not good. Do I expect all these players to be injured? I don't really know, and a lot of them could be in training tomorrow or could still make the squad for Bournemouth. I think as well it is very important that Arsenal can give Saka and Havertz game time, because Martinelli being dropped, I think he's been brilliant this season, but we could always bring Sterling or Trossard into that position, so it's not the end of the world. However, Saka and Havertz are our two outstanding forwards, and if we were to miss them against a good side, which Bournemouth are, I would be incredibly worried about our chances in that game. However, it is way too early from when I'm recording to really have a gauge of what's going on, because Arsenal are one of the most secretive teams. We know what Mikel Arteta is like. Even David Raya in that game against Leicester didn't even travel with the squad to the hotel before the game, and yet again he started randomly on the Saturday. So there definitely could be a lot up in the air. I think Arsenal are trying to keep their options open and probably know who can start and not start, and missing a day of training or missing 2 days of training for players like Saka, Havertz, Martinelli isn't really going to make much difference to how they want to play in the games anyway. And I'm not really too worried about the Shakhtar game in the week, but we'll obviously get to that in a few days time. But I do think this first game against Bournemouth is very important. Bournemouth are a very good side under Areola. They've been really good for most of last season and have been good this year and have bought a lot of good players. I really like Hudson, who they've signed, and I really like Kurskic to the left back, and I think they've got some really good players all around the squad. Obviously Semedo is one of their star players, who's a player that I love a lot as well. Now, they are very adaptable. We've seen them come to the Emirates before and play a bit of a low block style and sort of hold off a little bit, but they're at home in this game and I think they'll probably come at Arsenal, so maybe they'll do a man-to-man high press. Now, they use this high press because it's probably one of the best attributes they have at actually attacking, because it allows them, with a lot of pace they have in the team, to get at players quickly and win the ball back in great areas in which to score. They're also a team that loves counter-attack. They're a team that will get back and defend but then instantly run up. That pace obviously becoming a big factor of that, and they will target spaces between the centre-backs and full-backs in that inside run, so it's very imperative that people like Calafiori are aware this game, because they will be running at him in the inside quite a lot. And their wingers are very important to their side, and I do think that's going to be a key point of attention. If Saka isn't to play, if Martinelli isn't to play, we're going to have to bring wingers in that can run back and defend and help Calafiori and potentially Partey at this rate playing right back, considering the injuries we have, which obviously is going to be a weak point of the team, which they may even focus as well. But overall, Bournemouth are going to be a really hard game that we have to focus for. I know we've been quite good away at Bournemouth the last few years, but I do think we played them last year, beginning of the season, when they were struggling, and then after that they got a lot better, and we even saw it against the Emirates where they were a lot better, I think, against us. But we need to get results and we need to continue to do so, especially with the games we've got coming up, and that's where I really think it gets hard for our team. Now, overall, our games for the entire time until the next international break are very hard, and this I think can make or break our season if we are willing and able to get good points from these games. After Bournemouth have of course got Shakhtar in the Champions League, which I think overall, looking at it, you have to see it's one of our easier games we've got, especially it being at home does help. But it's a Champions League game, so you know that Arteta isn't going to completely rotate. He's going to play probably some players maybe that we don't see too often, like maybe like Jorginho, but he's still going to play a very strong team, at least for players that are fit, seeing if they are fitness available for these games. After that, of course, we've probably got one of our hardest games of the season, Liverpool at home. It's the first time that a real top team is coming to the Emirates this season, and I do think our home form has been a little bit more iffy than our away form, you could say, especially in the league. But Liverpool are a top team. They've been playing really well this season. Of course, they've definitely had an easier run of fixtures. They play Chelsea this weekend and then they've got us, so it does get a lot harder for them. But this is another game where we really need to show our quality and try and do them like we did last year, where we absolutely played them off the park in the Premier League. So we need our players to be fit for that. Then we've got Preston, which I don't really care about like cup competitions personally, and it might be a good opportunity to play some youngsters, but it is what it is. And then we go into a very hard week, which is probably one of our hardest weeks of the season, up there with the Tottenham, Man City and Atalanta away, being 3 away games yet again. I don't know why they keep doing this with us. Newcastle away, Inter away and Chelsea away within a week. This is going to be big because Newcastle this season have looked a bit on and off. They've been sometimes really good, sometimes bad. We're not the best at St James's Park. We won there in 22-23, but last year, well, obviously we lost there and we didn't play very good. So it'd be very interesting. We need to really put our statements in. I don't expect us to win every game, but we need to get significant points and we can't really be losing any of these games, especially against these big teams. Inter away is probably a game you look at it where we can lose, because ultimately there's so many points in this Champions League system. We've already got 4 and we've already played 2 of our hardest teams. We've got obviously Shakhtar before we play Inter. If we win that, we'll be on 7 points, and if we lose to Inter and then win or draw one game and maybe win our rest, we'll be completely fine. I think we'll probably get in the top 8 considering how many teams have been struggling against weaker oppositions. Inter aren't weak, they're a very good side, and I do think it's a game where we're probably going to sit in a low block and defend for most of it and then maybe try and get them on the counter. But we haven't really been able to perform away in the Champions League yet under Arteta, so that's a real big expectation for that game, where maybe it comes a little bit too soon, but we've obviously got to see. It would be a lot better if we had Odegaard within the team, but he won't be back, I don't think, for that game. I think he's going to come back a few weeks after that, so unfortunately we won't be the strongest we can be, so we're going to have to deal with that. But ultimately I do think the next game, Chelsea away, is more important than the Inter game. Like I said, I think we can afford to lose the Inter game. Overall, Arteta will obviously want to win to prove to people we can do it away in the Champions League, but Chelsea away we can't really afford to drop too many points. Maybe a draw is fine. We drew there last year, of course, where we were awful for near half the game. They did score a penalty and a lucky cross goal, but we weren't very good, and then we somehow got a draw because we turned it around late on. But we can't be shutting off like that. Chelsea, I think this season look a little bit better than they did last season. They're very good going forward, and it's going to be hard to keep a clean sheet in that game when they've got great players such as Madueke and Cole Palmer, who are playing brilliant this season. So we really need to keep our wits about us and maybe even play a system like we did against Tottenham, where we countered them, make sure they can't score, and then maybe get them on a corner. This is going to have to be very important for these games. And now we're seeing Arsenal go through bad periods of games where it's really tough and they've still got good results. I mean, this season I think we've been perfectly fine, even though the performances haven't been at the top level, but we have played definitely hard opponents. But I do think this could be the hardest part of the season for us, and if we can get through this, then we can continue some momentum going into games like we did last year, where we had a brilliant end to the season, I think, for the last 4 months, and take this with us in the future, because I do think we're a team that will improve throughout the season. I don't think we've peaked anywhere near to our top yet, and hopefully we can stay away from injuries after this Odegaard comes back, and maybe that'll make the team a little bit more functional in certain areas, or at least make us maybe a little bit more attacking. But overall, this is a very important period for the club of Arsenal this season, so I do think it is very much something to look at. Obviously, first we've got to look at Bournemouth. That's why they've got most of this video, and hopefully that goes well, and hopefully our players are fit, such as Havertz, Saka and Timber. Overall, let me know what you think the hardest game is and how many points or wins Arsenal will get in this period. It'd be really interesting to get your guys' perspective. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please watch my video yesterday about Marino's new tactics, and if not, I'll see you in the next one.